What happens when a routine mission to an alien planet reveals humanity's extinction in another dimension? Commander Sarah Blake never expected that her discovery would force her to confront the darkest truths about our future, and that the choices she makes next could alter the fate of all reality. The swirling violet clouds of nebula parted as Commander Sarah Blake's spacecraft pierced through the atmosphere. Her heart pounded in rhythm with the ship's humming engines, each beat echoing the weight of her mission. The control panel before her blinked with countless indicators, but one warning light pulsed more insistently than the others, an unprecedented energy signature emanating from the planet's surface. As she navigated through the turbulent descent, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this discovery would redefine humanity's understanding of existence itself. Through the cockpit window, the landscape revealed itself in surreal detail. Towering crystal formations jutted skyward like nature's own skyscrapers, their surfaces refracting light into cascading rainbows. Strange vegetation swayed in non-existent wind, their bioluminescent glow painting the terrain in ethereal blues and greens. But it was the massive structure at the coordinates that caught her breath. A perfect circle hovering meters above the ground, pulsating with an otherworldly energy that made her instruments go haywire. Her comms crackled to life with Mission Control's voice, but Sarah muted the channel. She needed to focus on what lay ahead. The airlock hissed open, and she stepped onto the alien surface. Each step toward the anomaly felt heavier than the last, not from gravity but from anticipation. The closer she got, the stronger the pull became, an almost physical force drawing her toward the shimmering portal. The temperature dropped noticeably as she approached, frost forming on her suit despite the planet's tropical conditions. Static electricity danced across her helmet's visor, creating patterns reminiscent of ancient symbols. Sarah activated her scanner, watching as numbers and readings spiraled out of control. This wasn't just another wormhole or black hole. This phenomenon defied all known physics. We've only scratched the surface of this mystery, but trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Stay tuned to witness how Commander Blake's investigation takes an unexpected turn that could change everything we know about our place in the universe. The portal's surface rippled like liquid mercury, yet maintained an impossible rigidity. Sarah extended her gloved hand, feeling the hairs on her neck stand despite her protective suit. Her scientific training screamed caution, but something primal urged her forward. The scanner's display dissolved into static as she crossed an invisible threshold, and suddenly, whispers filled her helmet, voices speaking in languages both familiar and foreign, overlapping in a symphony of incomprehensible communication. She activated her suit's recording systems, documenting every detail. The portal's energy created visible distortions in space-time, bending light around its circumference. Small objects near its edge floated upward, suspended in midair before being pulled into the vortex. Sarah's mind raced through possibilities: a natural phenomenon, alien technology, or something entirely beyond human comprehension. Her breathing quickened as she noticed movement within the portal's depths. Shadows flickered, forming shapes that resembled humanoid figures before dissolving back into chaos. The temperature continued dropping, and now her breath fogged the inside of her helmet. Something about those shadowy forms felt wrong. They moved with purpose, but not in any way she could comprehend logically. Suddenly, her suit sensors detected a massive surge in radiation levels. The portal expanded rapidly, its edges warping reality itself. Cracks formed in the air around it, revealing glimpses of other places, worlds that shouldn't exist side by side. Some showed barren wastelands, others lush paradises, and some nothingness, pure, absolute void where even light seemed to disappear. We're approaching a critical moment. The tension is building to an unbearable degree. You simply can't afford to look away now. The revelation that's about to unfold will shatter everything Commander Blake believes about reality. Sarah stumbled backward as the portal's expansion accelerated. Her boots skidded on the frost-covered ground, sending shards of ice scattering like diamonds across the alien landscape. The once stable environment around her began to destabilize. The crystalline towers swayed alarmingly, their previously harmonious colors now pulsing erratically. The bioluminescent plants dimmed and brightened in chaotic patterns, as if responding to some unseen disturbance. The voices in her helmet grew louder, more insistent. They formed words now, fragmented sentences in dozens of languages she recognized: English, Mandarin, Russian, Swahili, mixed with others completely alien. Already gone. Last chance. Must warn. The messages overlapped, creating a cacophony that threatened to overwhelm her. Her hands trembled as she adjusted her comm system, trying to filter out the noise, but the transmissions came from within the portal itself, not her equipment. A sudden gust of wind, impossible in this atmosphere, whipped around her, carrying with it particles that glowed with the same energy as the portal. These motes danced in complex patterns, forming symbols that seemed to burn themselves into her retinas. Her scanner, though malfunctioning, managed to capture some data. Quantum signatures matching Earth's temporal field, but distorted, twisted somehow. The shadows within the portal solidified momentarily, forming clear images of human figures. But these weren't ordinary people. They wore advanced suits similar to hers, yet subtly different, with technological enhancements far beyond current capabilities. Their faces were obscured, but their body language conveyed urgency, desperation. One figure reached out, its hand passing partially through the portal's barrier before snapping back as if burned. The portal's energy intensified, creating visible ripples in the fabric of space-time that extended outward like waves in a pond. Sarah watched in awe as these distortions interacted with the environment. Time itself appeared to slow and accelerate in alternating pulses. The crystalline towers seemed to age and rejuvenate in rapid succession, their surfaces cracking and healing repeatedly. Even the air took on a syrupy quality, making each movement feel like swimming through molasses. Her suit's AI assistant, usually reliable, began displaying conflicting data streams. Multiple timelines overlapped in its calculations, showing alternate versions of her current position. In some, she stood alone. In others, shadowy figures accompanied her. Most disturbingly, several projections showed the entire area devastated, reduced to ash and rubble. The AI's voice, typically calm and mechanical, wavered with what could only be described as fear. The temperature fluctuations became extreme, blistering heat followed by freezing cold in rapid cycles. Frost formed and melted on her visor so quickly that it created tiny rainbows in the condensation. Her suit's environmental systems struggled to compensate, causing her body to experience whiplash-like transitions between comfort and discomfort. Yet through it all, she remained transfixed by the portal's growing intensity. The shadowy figures returned, this time more substantial. They moved with purpose now, gesturing wildly and pointing at something behind her. When she turned, she saw the landscape itself shifting, mountains rising and falling, rivers appearing and disappearing, entire ecosystems blossoming and dying in seconds. It was as if the planet responded to the portal's presence, its very essence unraveling and reweaving reality. Sarah's attention snapped back to the portal as it emitted a sound unlike anything she'd ever experienced, a harmonic resonance that vibrated through every molecule of her being. The frequency shifted constantly, climbing higher until it became visible as well as audible, creating standing waves of energy that pulsed outward in perfect geometric patterns. Her suit's materials began to resonate sympathetically, tiny fractures appearing in her visor's reinforced glass. The portal's surface transformed into a kaleidoscope of scenes, glimpses of different realities flashing by too quickly to comprehend fully. She caught fragments of familiar places. New York's skyline, but with buildings made of light. The Amazon rainforest, populated by creatures that defied biological possibility. Vast cities floating in space, connected by bridges of pure energy. Between these flashes, darker visions intruded: scorched earth, empty streets, crumbling monuments to civilizations long gone. Her scanner finally managed to lock onto one consistent reading: temporal displacement. But not just any displacement. These weren't random moments in time, but precise snapshots of Earth's future. The data painted a picture of multiple timelines branching off from key historical points, each representing a possible destiny for humanity. Some futures showed advancement and prosperity, while others, the shadow figures pressed closer, their forms becoming clearer. They weren't merely reflections or projections. They were real beings, trapped between dimensions. Their suits bore markings similar to military insignias, but altered in ways that suggested a future far beyond her current time. One figure lingered longer than the others, its faceplate reflecting her own wide-eyed expression before fading back into the portal's depths. The persistent hum from the portal deepened into a rhythmic pulse, synchronizing with Sarah's heartbeat in an unsettling harmony. Each throb sent vibrations through the ground, causing her to stumble as if walking on an unsteady deck during a storm. The crystalline structures surrounding them began resonating with the same frequency, their internal lights blinking in complex patterns that seemed to communicate rather than merely illuminate. Her suit's AI, struggling against the overwhelming data influx, managed to isolate a crucial pattern. The portal's activity correlated directly with significant events in human history. Wars, discoveries, natural disasters. Each major occurrence created ripples that manifested as subtle changes in the portal's energy signature. More alarming was the realization that recent events showed increasingly violent fluctuations, suggesting humanity's influence on the dimensional fabric was accelerating dangerously. The air itself seemed to thicken further, creating optical distortions that made distant objects appear closer or farther than they actually were. Time dilation effects became more pronounced. When she checked her chronometer, minutes passed in seconds, then hours ticked by in mere moments. The bioluminescent plants responded erratically, their glow intensifying to blinding levels before dimming to near invisibility in unpredictable cycles. The shadow figures now moved with greater freedom, occasionally stepping fully into her reality before being pulled back. Their gestures grew more urgent, pointing toward specific areas within the portal's display. When she focused on these highlighted sections, she saw disturbing patterns, timelines where humanity's progress halted abruptly, replaced by centuries of stagnation or rapid decline. Some futures showed technological marvels, but devoid of any signs of human presence. Without warning, the portal contracted violently, its diameter shrinking to barely 3 meters before stabilizing. This abrupt change caused a shockwave that knocked Sarah off her feet, sending her sliding across the frost-covered ground. As she struggled to rise, she noticed something unprecedented. The portal's surface had become reflective, showing not her reflection but scenes from Earth's present day. Familiar landmarks appeared distorted, their forms warped by some unseen force. The shadow figures reacted strongly to this transformation, converging near the portal's edge. Their movements synchronized with the reflected scenes, highlighting specific locations: major cities, research facilities, government complexes. Each site displayed subtle anomalies: buildings slightly misaligned, vehicles moving in impossible trajectories, people walking with jerky, unnatural motions. It was as if reality itself frayed at these points, allowing glimpses of alternative states of being. Her suit's environmental controls failed completely, leaving her exposed to the planet's extreme temperature variations. Yet strangely, she felt no discomfort. Instead, a peculiar numbness spread through her limbs, accompanied by a tingling sensation that seemed to originate from deep within her cells. The scanner's readouts confirmed what her body already knew. She was experiencing quantum entanglement with the portal itself, her very atoms beginning to resonate with its fundamental frequencies. The reflected scenes shifted, showing simultaneous views of the same locations across different timelines. Some versions thrived with advanced technology and verdant landscapes, while others lay in ruins, their skies darkened by perpetual storms. Particularly disturbing were the instances where multiple timelines intersected, buildings existing in overlapping states, vehicles occupying the same space in conflicting configurations, people appearing as ghostly apparitions moving through solid matter. The portal's reflective surface began to fracture, not breaking apart but splitting into multiple layers like a prism. Each layer showed a different version of Earth's immediate future, unfolding in real time. Sarah watched, transfixed, as identical scenarios played out with dramatically different outcomes. In one layer, humanity achieved unprecedented unity and technological breakthroughs. In another, civilization collapsed under the weight of its own divisions. Most disturbing were the layers where humans simply disappeared, leaving behind empty cities and automated systems continuing their programmed functions. The shadow figures organized themselves into distinct groups, each aligned with a particular timeline. Their body language conveyed clear messages. Some gestured triumphantly toward prosperous futures, while others recoiled in horror from apocalyptic scenarios. One group, positioned near timelines showing humanity's extinction, exhibited particularly frantic behavior, repeatedly pointing at Sarah and making urgent gestures toward Earth's current state. Her connection to the portal deepened, granting her access to sensory data beyond normal human perception. She could feel the weight of billions of lives across multiple dimensions, sense the collective consciousness of humanity stretching across time and space. This awareness brought with it a crushing realization. The decisions made in the present moment rippled outward, influencing not just one future but countless possibilities, each with its own probability wave fluctuating in response to current events. The temperature fluctuations ceased abruptly, replaced by a uniform chill that penetrated her suit's compromised systems. Frost formed intricate patterns on her visor, creating a natural HUD that displayed mathematical equations describing the portal's quantum state. These calculations revealed something profound. The portal wasn't merely showing different futures but actively participating in their creation, acting as a nexus point where probability waves collapsed into concrete realities. As Sarah attempted to process this overwhelming information, the portal underwent another transformation. Its layered surfaces merged into a single, complex display showing Earth's current timeline overlaid with potential futures. Probabilities shifted in real time, represented by fluctuating percentages that danced across her frost-covered visor. Major events registered as spikes in the data stream: political decisions, scientific breakthroughs, environmental changes, each triggering cascading effects across the probability spectrum. The shadow figures assumed positions around the portal's circumference, forming a living clock face that marked significant temporal points. Their movements created interference patterns in the displayed data, revealing hidden connections between seemingly unrelated events. Through this cosmic choreography, Sarah began to understand the delicate balance maintaining reality's coherence, how small actions could amplify into monumental consequences, while apparently significant events sometimes dissipated without lasting impact. Her quantum entanglement with the portal evolved into something more profound. She could perceive the emotional resonance of different timelines. Prosperous futures radiated hope and determination, while doomed paths pulsed with despair and regret. Particularly intense were the timelines where humanity faced extinction. Their emotional signatures burned with such concentrated anguish that they threatened to overwhelm her heightened senses. The portal's energy signature changed again, now resembling a complex network map. Nodes represented key moments in human history, connected by pathways indicating causal relationships. Some nodes glowed brighter than others, signifying events with disproportionately large impacts on future probabilities. Sarah's enhanced perception allowed her to trace these connections backward and forward through time, revealing patterns that defied conventional understanding of cause and effect. In a moment that would define her existence, Sarah witnessed the ultimate revelation. The portal's display crystallized into a single, devastating truth. Humanity's extinction in one dimension had already occurred through countless iterations. The shadow figures, she realized with mounting horror, weren't visitors from alternate futures but remnants of humanity's final generation. Scientists, soldiers, civilians who had survived until the bitter end in their timeline, only to find themselves trapped between collapsing dimensions. Their desperate gestures now made terrible sense. They weren't warning her about a potential future, but showing her the aftermath of decisions already made. The prosperous futures she'd seen weren't possibilities but mirages, false hopes created by humanity's refusal to acknowledge its destructive patterns. The true path forward lay in embracing difficult truths and making sacrifices that generations before had been unwilling to accept. The portal's energy surged one final time, forcing Sarah to confront the most horrifying aspect of her discovery. The extinction event wasn't caused by external forces or unforeseen disasters, but by humanity's own inability to evolve beyond its self-destructive tendencies. Each timeline showed variations on the same theme: technological advancement outpacing moral development, environmental exploitation exceeding sustainable limits, social division eroding collective willpower. As the portal began to collapse, the shadow figures transmitted one last message directly into her consciousness. Their voices, unified in purpose, carried a single instruction: break the cycle. The command resonated through every fiber of her being, embedding itself deeper than memory, more fundamental than instinct. The portal's closing created a shockwave that threw her backward, but not before she absorbed the full weight of their warning. Stunned and disoriented, Sarah found herself sprawled on the alien ground as the portal's energies dissipated completely. The crystalline structures around her returned to their original state, their frantic pulsations calming to a gentle rhythm. Yet the knowledge seared into her mind refused to fade. The weight of humanity's repeated failures pressed upon her consciousness like a physical burden. Every breath felt heavier, each thought more urgent than the last. Her suit systems rebooted automatically, bringing online diagnostic protocols that confirmed her physical condition remained stable. However, the quantum entanglement had left lasting changes. Her neural pathways showed activity patterns never before documented, suggesting permanent alterations to her cognitive abilities. The frost patterns on her visor persisted, now functioning as a constant reminder of what she'd witnessed, displaying probability matrices that continued updating in real time. Mission Control's voice crackled through her restored communications link, demanding status reports and situation updates. Sarah hesitated, knowing that verbal explanations would fall woefully short of conveying the magnitude of her discovery. How could she articulate the crushing inevitability of humanity's self-destruction across infinite dimensions? How explain the desperate urgency in the shadow figure's final transmission? The bioluminescent plants resumed their natural glow, but Sarah noticed they now responded differently to her presence. Their light patterns matched the probability matrices on her visor, suggesting a fundamental shift in her relationship with this alien environment. The air itself seemed charged with new meaning, each particle vibrating with the potential for change, or continuation down the same destructive path. Compelled by the shadow figure's final command, Sarah initiated a comprehensive analysis of Earth's current trajectory using her enhanced cognitive abilities. The frost pattern visor displayed cascading data streams showing how minor decisions in the present moment influenced probability waves across multiple timelines. Patterns emerged that terrified her. Humanity's current path aligned almost perfectly with the doomed trajectories she'd witnessed through the portal. Her suit's AI, now operating at unprecedented efficiency thanks to her quantum-enhanced consciousness, identified critical intervention points. These weren't dramatic singular events, but rather cumulative choices. Corporate policies regarding environmental impact, governmental funding allocations for sustainable technologies, public education initiatives about climate science. Each decision point created ripple effects that either amplified humanity's destructive tendencies or offered potential escape routes from the predetermined extinction pattern. The alien landscape around her transformed subtly, responding to her newfound understanding. The crystalline towers refracted light in new patterns that mimicked Earth's atmospheric composition, while the bioluminescent vegetation pulsed in rhythms matching global economic cycles. These visualizations helped her grasp the interconnected nature of humanity's challenges, how environmental degradation linked to social inequality, which in turn influenced technological development and political stability. Mission Control's increasingly urgent requests for information forced her to consider how best to communicate her discovery. Direct transmission of her enhanced perceptions would likely overwhelm conventional systems, potentially causing widespread panic or disbelief. Yet watering down the truth risked perpetuating the very patterns that led to humanity's repeated destruction across dimensions. She needed a strategy that balanced urgency with comprehensibility. As Sarah processed the overwhelming data, she recognized patterns in humanity's repeated failures that transcended individual timelines. Across dimensions, civilizations reached a critical inflection point approximately 75 years after achieving global connectivity, roughly equivalent to Earth's current position. This period consistently marked the last opportunity to alter course before momentum toward extinction became irreversible. The margin for error narrowed with each passing day, measured not in months or years but weeks and days. Her enhanced perception revealed that humanity's greatest strength, adaptability, had paradoxically become its fatal flaw. Societies consistently optimized for short-term gains while discounting long-term consequences, creating feedback loops that accelerated their demise. Technological advancements outpaced ethical considerations, environmental protections lagged behind resource extraction, and social cohesion eroded in favor of individualistic pursuits. Each dimension showed variations on these themes, but the underlying pattern remained tragically consistent. The alien environment reflected this understanding in increasingly complex ways. The crystalline structures now displayed fractal patterns representing interconnected systems. Economic, environmental, social, technological. Changes in one sector triggered cascading effects throughout the network, demonstrating how solutions required holistic approaches rather than isolated interventions. The bioluminescent plants responded to these interactions, their light intensity varying according to the balance or imbalance of represented systems. Mission Control's communications grew more insistent, forcing Sarah to prioritize which aspects of her discovery to transmit first. The frost patterns on her visor highlighted key data points that could convey the urgency of humanity's situation without overwhelming conventional systems. Probability matrices indicated that sharing certain information at specific times could create positive feedback loops, potentially altering Earth's trajectory toward more sustainable outcomes. Drawing upon her quantum-enhanced understanding, Sarah developed a strategic approach to implementing change. The alien environment provided crucial insights. The crystalline towers demonstrated how small adjustments in foundation could redirect massive structures. while the bioluminescent vegetation showed how ecosystem balance required careful calibration of multiple variables. Applying these principles to human society, she identified leverage points where minimal intervention could yield maximum impact. Her suit's AI processed terabytes of data, cross-referencing current events with patterns from extinct timelines. Education emerged as the primary catalyst for meaningful change, not traditional academic models but immersive experiences that fostered systemic thinking and long-term perspective. Environmental conservation efforts needed reframing from optional initiatives to fundamental survival strategies, emphasizing their role in maintaining civilization's foundation rather than competing interests. The alien landscape's responses to her thoughts grew more sophisticated, displaying complex simulations of proposed interventions. These visualizations showed how seemingly minor policy changes could cascade through social systems, creating opportunities for paradigm shifts. For example, integrating environmental impact assessments into financial reporting standards would align economic incentives with sustainability goals, while establishing universal basic resources could reduce social instability that often preceded collapse scenarios. Mission Control's patience reached its limit, demanding immediate transmission of findings. Sarah activated secure channels, preparing to share carefully curated data packages that would trigger necessary changes without causing widespread panic. The frost patterns on her visor organized into transmission protocols, ensuring information flow matched Earth's capacity for absorption and implementation. As Sarah prepared to transmit her findings, the alien environment underwent one final transformation. The crystalline structures rearranged themselves into a massive antenna array, amplifying her suit's communication capabilities while filtering the data stream to prevent system overload. The bioluminescent vegetation formed natural circuits, creating an organic relay network that would distribute information according to Earth's societal readiness. Her transmission package contained more than raw data. It included protocols for gradual implementation, safeguards against misinformation, and mechanisms for verifying progress. The shadow figure's final message guided her decisions, emphasizing the importance of empowering humanity to break its destructive patterns rather than imposing external solutions. She encoded their warning into the transmission's core, ensuring it would resonate through every level of human society. Before initiating the transfer, Sarah recorded a personal message for future generations. She described the portal's revelations not as a prophecy of doom but as a gift of foresight, providing humanity with the rare opportunity to learn from its own extinction without experiencing it firsthand. The alien landscape's final configuration served as a testament to this choice. The crystals now displayed Earth's current timeline overlaid with emerging positive trends, while the vegetation pulsed with renewed vitality. As the data transmission began, Sarah understood that her journey had only started. The portal's closure hadn't ended her connection to other dimensions but transformed it into something more profound. The frost patterns on her visor remained, serving as a permanent reminder of humanity's potential and its responsibility. She activated her spacecraft's return sequence, knowing that Earth awaited not just her report but her continued guidance in navigating the most critical period in human history. Remember, the future isn't set in stone. Subscribe now to stay updated on humanity's journey toward breaking the cycle of extinction across dimensions.